So we finally got the motor and transmission installed in the 79 DeVille. It is now powered by LS1 and 4L80. And the next thing for us is to set up a fuel system. We've chosen to go with Aces EFI aftermarket fuel injection system in a limited capacity. We're not going to run an aftermarket throttle body or fuel injectors. We're going to run a factory truck intake and factory 36-pound fuel injectors that came on a Flex Fuel Silverado, and we're going to put the Aces EFI, just the controller and the touchscreen and the electronics, on the factory hardware. This way we don't have to worry about cheap fuel injectors or bad sensors or any of that stuff. Everything is pretty much factory, and only the electronics are the aftermarket EFI. For anybody that knows in this game, there's a thing about cheap fuel injectors and an extreme price for good fuel injectors. You pay a lot of money to get your hands on a good set of fuel injectors. So when we see an all-in-one aftermarket EFI kit that comes with a throttle body for like an abnormally low price, it should just be accepted before you even make your purchase that it has very cheap fuel injectors inside of it that are likely going to change their internal dimensions based off of thermals, which means the injector might seize and just hang open at wide open throttle if it warms up. And so for that, we should only run either expensive fuel injectors, or if we're going to go with an aftermarket EFI that comes with a throttle body, we should look to something that has a substantial price on it, like the Holley Sniper or the Fast throttle body. Fast is outrageously expensive, but these are very good throttle bodies that are known for stable fueling if only set up right. And with that said, we are actually excited and happy about a chance to use Aces EFI, because Aces EFI offers something that the other guys don't seem to be offering right now. If you get a Holley controller and you get like a Holley Terminator and you set that up, you have one wideband that goes in one side of your oxygen, and the whole engine is driven off of just this. This works real well for like a sniper setup, because all you got is a throttle body in the center, and both banks are really sharing all the fuel coming in anyway, so who cares about bank trimming, right? You got no way to adjust for it anyway. But when we have a factory setup where we're using the truck intake, we have different banks fueling and clearly defined, and there is a clear ability in the motor and the way it's set up to be able to fuel differently for each bank. And the Aces EFI comes with the upgraded. There's a base model, a light version that is like everything else, that only comes with one O2 sensor, but there's a regular version that comes with 2 wideband O2 sensors, and it does bank trimming. And if you set up a bunch of EFIs, that's a thing. When you set up your Holley Sniper, you will put the O2 sensor in one bank and see how it runs. If it runs good, then you'll leave it there. If it has instability issues, then maybe you're going to want to plug that exhaust port, weld a bung into the other side, and put your O2 sensor in the other side, and it might run better there. It all depends on which bank is the leaner or the richer running bank. And with dual bank fuel trimming, or independent bank fuel trimming, you don't even have to worry about that problem. It's like a non-issue. So for that, we are very excited about the idea of using Aces EFI. Even though this is our first time out with it, we have nothing but optimism and high hopes. The kit that we bought comes with a controller, AS 2011 Jackpot. We got the upgraded kit. They normally come with a 5.3-inch screen, but Aces has recently started advertising a 7-inch, like a Pro Dash type screen. And so we got the kit with that. We have the bigger 7-inch screen that comes with the Aces. And that's what we're going to mount on the dash of the Cadillac. We really like this. The controller and the screen come with a GPS speedometer on them, which is a nice feature. Just because GPS speedometers don't really care about gears or tire sizes or wheel sizes. So when you have a GPS speedometer, you do have to wait a couple of seconds from the time you turn the key on for it to start working, to connect and start working. But the GPS speedometer doesn't care about how fast the wheels are spinning. The GPS speedometer cares about how fast the vehicle is moving. So there's no calibration that ever needs to change with the GPS speedo. It just goes on, it works, it's there, and that's it. In fact, you could turn the key on your vehicle on the back of a flatbed truck and it would show speed because it's traveling and the GPS sensors are picking that up. Any other way, you got to get into like calibrating, you got to get into setting up a 1 mile drive track to try to calibrate how many pulses are in a mile, and there's all these different calibration steps. But GPS speedos simplify things in a great way. And the Aces comes with that. Aside from the controller and the screen and the two fuel and O2 sensors, Aces EFI also comes with a IAT sensor. Most GM vehicles, the IAT sensor is inbuilt to the mass airflow sensor, and no aftermarket EFI is really running, or none of the big aftermarket EFI is really running mass airflow sensors. They're all only running speed density. And so Aces EFI comes with a regular inlet air temp sensor, so you can drill a hole in your intake tube and put this grommet in and then push it in like in the 1990s, just how GM used to do it. We also have a map sensor. The map sensor is a lot. It's almost 3 bar. It's 2.6 bar. It says 300 kPa. We're not going to boost this right now, I don't think, so we don't need that, but it's nice to have. Something else about our map sensor is the Aces EFI map sensor is for Gen 4. It is the larger diameter orifice, and so if you have an early Gen 3 intake, some guys are drilling out the top of it. If you have a Trailblazer SS intake, you still have to drill out the top of it. But if you hunt down an intake from 2010 to 2017, or 14 or whatever, for GM Savannah or even Silverado, whatever you want, 4.8, 5.3, or 6.0, you'll get the same Trailblazer SS style intake, but it'll have the larger orifice for the bigger map, and it'll also have the correct lockdown for it, so you don't have to have any butchery or fuckery going on just to make your stuff work. It can go on the right and correct way. And that's what we have, is we actually have an intake from a 2014 Chevy vehicle. And it just took the Aces map sensor without a problem. Something else that comes with the Aces EFI is the harness. This harness is pretty complete. Works with Gen 3 and Gen 4. And because we got 6L80 or 4L80, we got the sub harness for that. So we got the transmission control on it, which is, by the way, a part of why we're doing the Aces EFI on this. We had thought about doing a carburetor, but with the LS engine, to run a carburetor, you have to have a controller for the ignition coils, right? So you'll get something like your MSD 6LS box, and you'll run that. And now you got a programmable ignition controller to program your ignition timing with that has no way of communicating with the fuel system or with the transmission shift. And then you'll go and buy a transmission controller standalone to shift the transmission, and now you got separate controllers that can't communicate with each other, and they're all doing their own fucking thing. And how could you ever find something nice, right? So the Aces, the fuel injection with aftermarket EFI are bringing a common controller to everything on the engine. Is just a much better way of having an expectation of a good, happy ending when it's all done. The Aces EFI also came with this little pigtail for our GM alternator. And the Aces EFI came with a Pro Dash mount because we got the 7-inch screen. The Pro Dash mount is just these two pieces. Pretty simple, little suction cup. Sticks to your windshield. It's got this little piece, sticks on. And then it's got the little screen piece to come out and connect to your screen. So it'll sit like that up on the windshield, boom, and then the screen will go right in here. And don't ever mount this up high. That 7-inch screen might get hurt if it falls away, and that's just a suction cup. So if you're gonna mount this, you mount it just an inch off the dash, so if the suction cup lets go, it doesn't fall and damage anything. Okay. And this is the other big part of the Aces EFI kit. This is our 250 liter per hour fuel system. For budgetary constraints, because we're doing engine and transmission and we're trying to fix the AC, we're doing a lot of things to this car at one time. So we're just gonna use an inline fuel system with a pump instead of dropping the tank and trying to convert the tank to mount a fuel pump inside. This will add thousands of dollars to any job to set it up right. By the time you buy the tank, you get the fuel pump, you get the sender unit, you get the hat, and you get your straps, and you get it all together, and then you get everything set up, and you're just adding numbers to the bill. But this inline kit from Aces EFI can go in pretty quick and easy. We just interrupt one of the lines coming off of the fuel tank, like the feed line. And we just, well, for us, we will run a fuel filter first because it's an old gas tank. We don't know about the condition of the sock or anything like that, so the fuel filter will go before the pump. And we have a backflow valve, or a check valve, so it'll hold fuel pressure at the rail. We have a regulator. We have a pressure gauge. I don't know why we have a pressure gauge, probably because we don't have a pressure sensor. Yeah. And then underneath all this, we have 40 feet of PTFE tubing, and they give us a mess of 6AN fittings and stuff, of which we've added to augment and give us everything that we need to set this up right. And that is all of the components of our Aces EFI kit that we have to install. First up, we want to get the fuel system set up. We're going to mount the pump just like how we saw it mounted on our 1970 Monte Carlo that came to us already LS swapped. We didn't really like the way that fuel pump was mounted up front, but we understand why it was mounted that way, and it worked. And so in this spot, we're going to mimic that. It's a great budget solution when you have a whole lot of other things to do up front, and you can always revisit that later on. And so that's where we're at. Let's start getting this fuel system together.